Are you ready to master the art of creating 2 cards simultaneously? Today's video will do just that, and bonus, it's a one-sheet wonder. You're going to be creating 2 cards at once. This tutorial is going to teach you how. Hello and welcome everybody. I'm Connie Stewart with SimplySimpleStamping.com. Thank you guys so much for joining me for today's Tuesday tip video. Boy, do I have a lot in today's video. Not only do we have a 2-for-1 card, it is also a one-sheet wonder, and it's a unique fold. Yep, we've got lots to cover. Let's head over to the stamping table and get started. Fall is in the air, and these cards are absolutely perfect to send to a friend. I'll tell you what, we're going to start with this one here. This card is going to feature the Warms My Heart stamp set. This is a brand new one in the September through December mini catalog from Stampin' Up. I love these images and I love the sentiments, so feel free to change up the images as much as you want, but this little pumpkin one I just thought was too darn cute. Now, I told you at the top of the video that this card creates 2 cards. So this is all the supplies you're going to need to create those 2 cards. Pretty nice, right? I have 2 pieces of 8.5 by 11, and that is peach pie and pumpkin pie. I've got 2 pieces of basic white, 4 by 5 1/4. And then I have 4 pieces of basic white, 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. That is all we need. Now, as another little bonus to today's video, in my free download, there's also a diagram to help you create this card with ease, right? No worries about cutting things wrong. You've got a diagram to walk you through. And of course, the free download always includes the supplies, the measurements, photos. If you need to come back and watch the video again, you can click or scan the QR code. And if you'd like to order anything, you can do that as well. Friends, if you're in the United States, I would love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And you can do that right off that download as well. So are you ready to jump in? We're going to start with that diagram. So the first thing it tells us to do is we need to cut the cardstock in half to create 2 pieces, 5.5 by 8.5. Now every cut, I'm going to do that to both pieces, right? Because we're making 2 cards. So I now have 4 equal pieces, 5.5 by 8.5. The next direction is to score these 2 in half at 4 1/4. So those are scored. That'll be our card base. And now we're going to do a cut. So we're going to cut from the score line all the way down to the bottom left. And to do that, you're simply going to line up the score line here in the track. The point, oops, let me make sure you can see that, the point right down here in the track, and you're going to cut. Now this triangle needs to be cut down a little bit, and it tells us to just cut off 1/4 of an inch on each side. So I'll cut 1/4 of an inch, well not each side, I should say 2 sides. So there's the short side. I'll flip this over and cut 1/4 of an inch off this side, and that is ready to go. Guess what? We're going to repeat that now with the other piece of cardstock. Those pieces are done. I can set those off to the side because we're ready to move on to the next one. So with the remaining 5.5 by 8.5, we want to cut this to 3 inches by 8.5. There's 8.5, 3 inches. We'll cut, and then we'll cut our other piece. And now it says we're going to trim off a 1/2 inch, all right, 1/2 inch. Because we actually need this to be 8 inches, forgive me, 8 inches. So we'll cut a 1/2 inch off there. And now we're going to give this a score in half at 4 inches. Remember, if it feels like I'm going fast, it's all there in the diagram. You are good. We're just prepping all of our pieces. All right, that's this part of the diagram. So now for our last one, we're going to cut the remaining 2.5 by 8.5, and we're going to cut these into 2.5 by 3.5. Remember, this is our 2.5. So we need a 3.5, a 3.5, and that's going to leave me 1.5 inches, and I will be using that when I work on my sentiments. It looks like we have a hot mess, but I promise you it's not. We are ready to get to stamping. We're going to use a pumpkin pie ink pad today. It just went so well with the peach pie and the pumpkin pie. Well, lots of pie, all right? We're just in a pie mood today. All right, so I'm going to stamp my image right here on one of those pieces of basic white. Remember, these were the 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. Once we have that, we can now come in with Stampin' Blends or our Stampin' Right markers, and we can color this in. Now you're going to use your favorite colors. I have decided to go with some boho blue, pumpkin pie, pecan pie, crumb cake. Boy, we have a lot of sweets today, don't we? My skin tone, you're going to pick the skin tone that you need. I'm going to be sending this to a friend of mine, and so I wanted to pick the skin tone that matched her. So this is the Naturals Tones Light. This is the number 900. So we'll get her hands, her face, and her neck. For her overalls, I'm going to go with boho blue, and I'm going to start with the dark, and I'm just going to kind of trace out her overalls. Then I can come in with the light boho blue, and I'm just going to blend those two colors together. I'm going to go ahead and leave her t-shirt that she's got on underneath her overalls. I'm going to leave that white. Next, we've got our pumpkin pie. And so for those pumpkins, I'm just going to trace out the lines that Stampin' Up! Artists have given me. And that's just going to add, again, just some of the depth. That's the great part about these Stampin' Right markers, because when I come in with the light, it will just blend these colors together. Now the pecan pie, that's going to be her hair color. Again, this is what's so nice. You just kind of pick the hair color for the person you're sending it to. By the way, since I have this out, let's go ahead and get the stems of our pumpkins. I'll blend those colors together with the light pecan pie. And because it's fall, we're going to color her boots in a little crumb cake. So I'm going to start there with the dark, and then we can blend it together with the light. So yeah, the key to this is just to make sure your light color is touching the dark color, and you see it just sort of blends the two together. It's the alcohol that's in the markers, and look at that. Isn't that just so pretty? In this stamp set, we have a Hey Pumpkin, and I would pick you over and over again, which also goes with the apples. But you know what? We're pumpkin picking, so I thought that would work perfect for the inside of my card. So I'm going to grab that pecan pie ink pad, another piece of that basic white. I would pick you over and over again. We'll adhere our sentiment and our focal image. These are going to go on pieces of pumpkin pie. So for the greeting on the front of the card, remember that little scrap that we had left over when we were cutting? This was at 1.5 by 2.5. We're going to cut it down to 1 inch by 2 1/4. Now, if your sentiment, your greeting is different, you might want to wait to do this until you know the size of your greeting. But that's going to be the size of mine. And now I've got just a scrap here. Let's see, it's already 3/4, and I need it to be 3/4 by 2. Again, I know we have 1,000,001 scraps, so that's going to be fine. You can see that will layer just right. Back in with pecan pie. And we will say, hey, pumpkin, and we can layer that together. It is time to put card 1 together. So I'm going to fold over my little diamond cut, my little triangle cut there. I'm going to adhere my 4 by 5 1/4 there on the inside. Now we're going to bring in the peach pie. This would be that 3 by 8 scored at 4 inches. I've got adhesive here on the back, but now I want to kind of show you my trick for putting this together, because it is a Tuesday tip video after all. There are always tips and tricks. So I want the edge of my triangle to be touching that corner, right? The seam there of my card. And I'm going to go ahead and close this as I do it. And so what I'm shooting for
is for that to be touching there and this corner to be touching there. It might not be exact, but it should be pretty darn close, just like that. So that is going to be the opening of our card. We'll get our focal image on the front. We'll add our message area here on the inside. Now we're going to work with that triangle piece. Remember how we cut 1/4 of an inch off? Yeah, this is why, because now it works perfect in here. So I'm going to take a quick little shift here, and I'm going to take my 2 triangle pieces and an embossing folder. This is the plaid embossing folder. So I'm going to line up my triangles right there. I'm going to run that through my machine to emboss that. And so to do that, you're going to want base plate 1, and then the top part of your sandwich is base plate 4, and we can run this through our machine. And there we have it. We've got some great embossed cardstock. So for this card with the pumpkin pie base, we want the peach pie to be the embossed part. I will tell you, I think it is best if you run adhesive all down the sides rather than just trying to add little bits and pieces. Embossed cardstock sometimes wants to have a little lift, wants to have a little attitude. We're going to put it in its place. So we have that. I'm going to add my sentiment, and I just want a little adhesive here on the side because I want that to hang off right there. And I thought this card needed a little ribbon. So how about some peach pie ribbon? I've got a piece for each of my cards. These are just little ribbon knots, and you can kind of decide where you want it to go. It's always going to be different, right? Based on where you're stamping. Let's see, you know what, for this one, I actually think I'm going to put it up there on the white part of my card. Isn't that so fun? Now, it is a 2-for-1, so let's go create the second card.
Don't forget to get your free download that goes along with today's video. Friends, everything you need so you can recreate the cards will be there. You'll have the supplies, the measurements, photos, a QR code to come back and watch the video again, and yes, that diagram to make the cutting super easy and to create that one-sheet wonder. You'll find this free download at simplysimplestamping.com, or if you look down in the YouTube description, I've got a direct link for you.
So for my second card, I used my new favorite stamp set called More Than Autumn. I love this. This is a kind of choose your own adventure. And so you're going to have a sentiment that you get to add whatever word you want to go along with it. So nothing's better than pumpkin spice or hot cocoa or apple cider, eggnog, autumn, fall. You've got a lot of options. You had me at donuts. You know, you always have me at donuts. Eggnog, big favorite in our house. So yeah, you've got a lot of really great options. And of course, fabulous sentiments to go along with it. This set has a matching die set that you can purchase as a bundle, or you can purchase them separately. Purchasing as the bundle saves you 10%, and hey, we love that. So for this one, I'm going to say, love you more than pumpkin spice. What a great card for autumn, right? Now this one, we are going to get a little creative, all right? Because we've got some pieces that we're going to die cut before we put this card together. So it is a little different than the last card. Everything's going to use the pecan pie ink pad. And so we're going to start with the basic white. This is the 4x5 1/4 that actually goes in the back. Now remember, on this card, this part's going to be hidden, so we want to stamp from the middle. So I'm going to stamp my whipped cream and a pumpkin. That way I can get those cut and no one will see. We'll do a little Stampin' Blend here on the pumpkin. The whipped cream, well, obviously that is going to stay white, but let's color in that little pumpkin. And now we'll bring in the matching dies. And I guess I could have stamped that a little further apart. Nope, looks like I'm going to be okay. Let's run that through our machine. And the sandwich is a little different for this one. For die cutting, you're going to want base plate 1, thin die adapter 2, a cutting plate 3. Now we can add our pieces here. You're going to get that all lined up. You could do them separately. If you're nervous about running 2 pieces at the same time, that's fine. When it's set, top with your another cutting plate 3, and you can run that through your machine. And we've got that ready. So I'm going to bring in my other card. You notice I went ahead and added that pumpkin pie embossed cardstock. Remember, we did that when we were working on the other card. That's going to adhere there. Again, we're not going to see what we did there because we're going to take that pumpkin pie. This is the 3x8. And just like before, we're just going to kind of line it up in there. We have 2 pieces of peach pie. One is going to go right inside the card, and this is another one. Before we do anything to the one on the front, we're going to do a little stamping. And we're going to stamp right in the middle of this, our cup, back in with that blend. I'm using the light. You could use the light or the dark. But we're going to color in this part, the sleeve of the cup, and then just the bottom of the cup. We're now going to die cut that the same way we die cut these. There we go. I'll set that off to the side. Remember, we had our 2 pieces of our basic white, so let's stamp the outside and the inside. So the outside says, "Love you more than." Stamp that there at the top. And of course, we love you more than pumpkin spice. Now I'm going to stamp pumpkin and spice over here off to the side because, you know, we want to add another pumpkin. Some quick coloring there. So we'll take our love you more than. That's going to cover up that. No one will see it. And we'll add this to the front of the card. Our pumpkin spice and our message will go here on the inside. Now let's create that fabulous cup. I'm going to add the cup with adhesive, and then I'm going to use Stampin' Dimensionals on the whipped cream and the pumpkin. So let's add the whipped cream right on top, and now our little pumpkin will go right there, and finally our little ribbon knot. And I think for that one, I'm going to put that one right there. Isn't it cute? Can you believe we just had that little bit of cardstock, right? 2 sheets, some simple cutting, and remember that diagram is going to make it really easy. And we have 2 fantastic autumn cards. Now think beyond autumn. We've got Christmas cards, we've got birthday cards, thank you cards, so many opportunities. You can always make 2 when you use the One Sheet Wonder Diagonal Joy Fold. Be sure to grab that download so you can recreate some absolutely adorable cards.
Thank you all so much for stopping by today. I hope that you enjoyed those 2-for-1 One Sheet Wonder cards. If you did, give me a thumbs up on YouTube. I always appreciate hearing from you. And if you haven't subscribed, click that subscribe button, ring the bell, and then YouTube can let you know whenever I'm back with another video. And I'd love to have you here on the channel. That's all for me, everybody. I am so glad you were here today. Make it a great day and go stamp something amazing. Until next time, bye-bye.